get through, you can see that this is the issues we have to do, we face. And the Bible suggests some of them that sleeping with his mate at the end of the day is procreation. That is what it matters. Because the reason that you have to procreate, that is it. But the same joy, the same excitement that you have with any other woman took place in the same manner. So lust took place there. And the reason of having a child also came in, because lust comes in, and then through the last, child comes out of it also. You see, the two people come together, and as a result, they become one flesh. The one flesh is that child that is born. That child is a living proof of their oneness. The children you have together prove your oneness. It could be that you have 10 wives. All the 10 wives, whatever proof they will get is the children they will have with you, with that same man. If it's the other way with women, or it's the same thing, whatever bond you have with somebody, that produce what comes out, the child that comes out is some kind of solid proof, or the evidence, or the will, or the documents that shows that you two were together. They test the blood of that child, and they can get you there, they could get her there. Both of you are in that child, one flesh. You don't need a written document. You need a human proof, and that human proof is right there before you with a child. You understand? So that's my explanation of it. So in every sense, if you look at what Abraham did with his, and that's not the only child, the only woman he slept with. Abraham ended up with other, I think, what do you call it also, So let's say he had with his mate, and that's the children he have. And then later, God then comes in. Now, didn't God know that Sarah was going to suggest that? Maybe he knew. I think he knew, because God is all-knowing. So he should know that Abraham was going to listen to his wife's advice to have children. He should know. And maybe, in every sense, according to the Bible, I should believe that he knew. But why would it happen? That is, he will suggest such a thing and end up sleeping with his maid and having children. And why should it be that Abraham will even listen? If Abraham truly have faith in God, why would he listen to his wife? Because Abraham would think that maybe it is God who is speaking through his wife to have a child. I mean, these are questions that you think through and realize that it's all stories that's been made. I mean, it is seen that Abraham has faith, that he's a friend of God, and he even has serious faith. That is why God used him. Today, people present themselves to have even wilder and more serious faith, and God has not shown his face yet. Yet Abraham, with such kind of faith, was walking with God and having great things and doing one thing, waiting. He couldn't wait. We are waiting, you today and are supposed to be waiting for some miracle from God or your faith to show up. How long are you going to wait? Abraham, that we keep claiming he did wait. How long did he wait? He didn't wait. If he was waiting and still having children. He didn't just wait. He went on with his life. If it's not his wife suggesting Hagar, just because of his wife issue, getting angry, so he didn't want to do it. So it's good that the woman suggested it. But if the woman had not suggested, and somehow he decided, he could have decided to with any other person to have. And it happened in the sense of Jacob. Jacob also was trapped. The story says he was trapped into a situation, and he had children with 2 women, and so many children was coming out of it. In the sense of Moses settled with this woman, another woman, and her children, and went on and all that, and all these things is similar to the same thing of adultery, fornication, and all that, which we normally, in the Muslim world, they see it as polygamy. They accepted that because God at that time, because of the presentation, they presented it for it to be okay. But the Christian side teaches that not presented to be okay. They make it look like God had an issue with it. And the Muslim had a different presentation. They make it that it's okay. So according to the Muslim, you can even have 4 wives, 5 wives, because they have to see that the prophets were doing it. It was okay. So why would it be wrong now? If the same God that the Bible even teaches, the same God of the yesterday is the same God today, why would he have issue with it now? And I think so too. If we are talking about God, he shouldn't have issue with whatever it is that happened, because if he didn't have issue with Abraham, he didn't have issue with Lot, he didn't have issue with Noah, he didn't have issue with what do you call it? He didn't have issue with David. Solomon or the rest of them, why would he have issue now? God won't have issue with that. If you understand God's ways and God, who truly God is and what God really is, you tend to realize that God punished Noah and the beast and took them out of and put them out of the world and say he's not going to just cast away. He didn't. The sin did not just happen to just human beings. He even think it happened to animals and everything as well. So if animals are doing the same things like we see, I mean, animals don't take time to look for cousins and friends or some, go distant to marry or to engage in sex to have reproduction. They don't do that. It is not too keen. They are not conscious of that like we have. We have got so much conscious awareness of around in our life that we have every day inventing ways that we feel should be better, and we are keeping ourselves putting more responsibilities on us that are so unnecessary and making us more burdensome. That burden is something we can bear, and it's giving us problems. It doesn't mean you should go out there and do that. But even if it happens, we shouldn't take it so serious and kill and punish and destroy out of it. It is not a crime of any century. It's something which, if history has suggested to it, especially the so-called Christian or the so-called religious man who knows it, that these things has happened, that even their God has not much of. But there are some ways where the storyline will suggest that God had issue with it. And then Jesus Christ will come and he says to them, do not stone that woman, because all of you can be also be guilty. He says that the law of divorce was set not because of, let's say, the sake of the separation or anything, but your heart, because we already have developed certain hearts of anger and envy and all sort of things in our life that we judge and condemn easily. We get offended by all those things. And so if the person wants to go, they have to get a law of divorce, a written law of divorce, which gives them the right to go, so that nobody will accuse that person. Both sides will feel free. He says, because of your heart, the things in your heart, the things that you think, the things that you accepted, the things that you do, that is why you're having problem with these things. That's why you want to, so do not touch this woman. Don't stone her because you think he's a prostitute or she is that. All of you are guilty of prostitution. Your mental mind, whichever way it is, you're all guilty of prostitution. And truly we are all guilty of something. Sometimes when you see these things, the very people who are accusing you and condemning you are sometimes even twice worse. That is the sad thing about it. That is what makes it unjustified for anybody to be accused of these things, because you know that it is irrelevant. Yet, because there are you have one or two people who has abused certain things in certain ways. I mean, defining sin is a simple and straightforward definition. Something that is done wrong against your fellow person that he does not like. It's a simple definition that I don't see why it's become so complicated every day. There are things that you do to somebody that he doesn't necessarily object or hate or get upset. But if we define sin and have specifics of what sin is, then even if that thing that we do is okay, since we have defined it as sin and wrong, it makes it wrong. That's not smartness. That's very stupid. That's silly. That's what the situation is. That is exactly what we face in our lives. Because we have already concluded the things that we think are wrong or right. And I will point it all out to you as time goes on. Some of the things in the Ten Commandments or things in any rules of laws that we see, that the same thing will be happening to other people, and it's okay. And the situation even demanded for them to do that. Why would it be? As long as it's law, it should be a law. It doesn't matter what the situation is. There's no circumstance that should free you from something which is sin. But the best way to have that peace is that we shouldn't have set those laws. We shouldn't have even looked at the laws or set those things out in that sense. But you look at the circumstance of how the thing happened, and then you realize what is necessary or wasn't it necessary. in certain circumstances, it is necessary for